Hey everybody, welcome to From My Mother's Basement, the show that celebrates being a geek. I'm Jason. Unfortunately, Mike will not be able to join us for this episode. Reason being, he was him and Nikki were at the, what is it called? The Central Coast Comic Convention. I believe the first one in the Ventura area. If not one, it's just been in quite some time. But they were there helping out our good friends over at Hypno Comics at their booth for the day. Things went a little later than expected, and unfortunately Michael was unable to make it, so he sends his apologies, but we all understand when you work a convention, it's very taxing on the body. You may not realize that at that time, but once the convention closes and you talk to your last attendee, your body kind of shuts down. So he is going to be relaxed for the rest of the evening, him and Nikki. But he will be back for next week. But that being said, we have plenty to talk about this week anyways. Starting off with the IFA. The IFA is actually very similar to CES, the Consumer Electronics Show that takes place in Las Vegas every year. The difference being that this one takes place, later on in the year, obviously. And it also takes place in Europe this year. It was actually in Berlin. And I have to say, there was actually a few more announcements that came out of IFA this year that I was actually more interested in than what came out at CES. We'll get to the phone stuff first. And, of course, the big thing not only is just the phones and what they can do and the technology behind them, but more along the lines of the accessories. Now, we've already talked about the leaked images and information regarding Samsung's smartwatch. Well, the official announcement has finally come out. It is actually called the Samsung Galaxy Gear. We already knew that already. What we didn't know was the final design. The leaked images showcase this to be a little bigger than actually expected. So these ones look definitely more polished. Now the crazy thing is that Samsung's going to be releasing these for sale in just a few weeks. And let's talk about the good stuff about it first. It does include an 800 megahertz processor. It has a pretty, beefy battery. Unfortunately, the battery doesn't last all that long. We'll get to that in a moment. The other crazy thing is that this one, aside from having, a touchscreen and it looks very nice resolution, it also comes with a camera. And it's kind of an interesting place where they put the camera. Part of me was kind of hoping it would be just at the top of the screen so that you can treat it like, a classic Dick Tracy watch phone where you can make calls to your watch like that. I think that would be awesome. But no, this one is actually going to be put on the side. It's mainly designed to actually so you can take pictures of your food. Samsung is kind of going to place this mostly along the lines of it being a health device where you can track calories and you can take pictures of your food so you can categorize them later on. The screen itself, let's see, it's a decent size resolution. The camera resolution can do 10-second video clips at 720p, or if you want just longer videos than that, it's 640 by 640, which is VGA resolution with sound. I look at these designs and I think, okay, they can be very cool, but here's the problem. It is very, very limited. Yes, you can swap out the faces, as you can see, but it actually is pretty sluggish for the fact that it is full color display. It is a touch screen, so it's not going to be as snappy as, say, my Pebble watch that I backed on Kickstarter. The other bit is that the battery life, they claim that with just quote-unquote regular use, this is only going to have like a day's worth of power at best. So any power users out there will probably have to charge this at least once or twice a day. And the thing is, you can't really charge this while it's being on your wrist because the charging plate is actually on the back of the device. So you have to take it off your wrist and attach the micro USB, plastic charging dock. There's a couple bits like that you have to go through. Another bit is compatibility. This is only going to work right off the bat with the new Note 3, which we'll talk about in a second, and the new Note 10.1. Now, I'm sure eventually they'll make the announcement it will be available to sync with the Galaxy the S4, but that hasn't been announced yet. I'm guessing once the S4 gets Android 4.3 update, it'll go ahead and do so. So outside of that, if you have a non-Samsung tablet or phone, this isn't going to work for you. Then we get to the last bit. This is going to be kind of pricey for just an attachment with such limitations. It is going to cost retail $299 and begins shipping in just a couple weeks on the 25th. Plus, if you were even considering picking up one of these and you lived in either Japan or US, you're going to have to wait till late October to even, snag one for yourself. I don't know. I look at this and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm going to skip this. My Pebble Watch works better. It attaches to much more than just like 2 devices. And yeah, not for that price. Definitely not for that price. But also talking about Samsung devices, we briefly mentioned the Galaxy Note 3. 2 years ago, Samsung released the initial Galaxy Note, and people were thinking, oh, this is nothing, it's not going to take off. And it pretty much has. This whole bringing back the stylus, bringing back the phablet, the phone-tablet mixture. And this one is pretty much no different from the other ones. Some of the specs are kind of nice. I mean, the screen is 5.7 inches. This is 1080p Super AMOLED display. It's about 386 ppi, so it's definitely sharper than the previous 2 Notes. And it is noticeably brighter according to initial reports on it. A little lighter, a little thinner. That's to be expected as technology moves forward. The big thing, aside from it actually having what it claims is the Exynos octa-core system on a chip, having 8 cores on there. That is kind of misleading for the sole fact that when you take a look at the actual architecture and how it's designed, even though it does have 8 cores on the chip itself, it only uses maybe 2 at a time. Most applications are only designed to use one core. So that's kind of more, hey, look, you have technology. You're not really utilizing it, but okay. The only bit that I think would actually work well with the 8 core is the fact that the camera on the back is capable of recording UHD resolution at 30 FPS. Ultra HD, also known as this phablet can record in 4K. Now, why would you need a camera phone to be able to record in 4K? Again, this has to be one of those, I look at it and it's just because new technology. Ooh, you have big numbers, bigger numbers than anybody else. Why? Unless you're one of those 1%ers in the world that are actually able to afford a 4K television, or you went to buy one of the Seiki 50-inch or 36-inch ones. This one has a bunch of features that you're probably not going to be able to use, at least to the full extent, within this product's lifespan. By the time you're finding out that 4K resolution cameras and displays are a common bit, this phone's going to be long dead and gone. So, oh well, it's one of those, I look at it, it's cool technology. It's going to be released in 140 countries on September 25th. So it is going to come out. If you guys are interested in it, go pick it up. For me, I'm going to stick with my lowly iPhone 4S until at least Tuesday. At least we'll get to that next week. But Samsung was not the only company out there talking about a smartwatch. Sony was out there as well talking about the SmartWatch 2. This one we have a little less information than we had with the Galaxy Gear. This is a pretty low resolution display. It is going to be full color. It's 1.6 inches diameter, 220 by 176 resolution. That's kind of tiny. You're not really going to fit much information on a screen that size. Now, that being said, the Pebble Watch has a much smaller resolution than that, and I think it works just fine. So, this one, apparently can actually pair quickly to any Android handset running Ice Cream Sandwich or later. So there's a much larger adaptability out there compared to the Galaxy Gear. It does have a big power button. Has a touch screen, so you can do some things on there, more so than current gen smartwatches. We have no idea when this will be coming out. We have no idea when the price is going to happen. It could be released. Again, I'm not really all that, one, surprised, but two, I'm not really not all that interested. It's kind of funny that the small little Kickstarter funded e-ink display smartwatch has more appeal than any of these full color multi-touch displays on your watch. And I'm like, my watch doesn't need to have all of that, but okay, that's just me. To tie in with the new smartwatch, Sony released their new flagship phone, the Xperia Z1, and this one, again, it's kind of similar to the Galaxy Note 3. I mean, you're going to be having some decent quality in terms of the tech. 2.2 gigahertz quad-core Snapdragon 800. You'll probably have better chance of using most of that with current-gen apps. 2 gigs of RAM, 16 gig onboard storage. It has a decent size battery, but the big piece of tech that many people will probably want to pick this up for is that camera on the back. That camera is actually going to be 20.7 megapixel. That's going to be quite nice. You're going to get some decent, at least decent size images at that rate. In terms of the lens itself, left to be seen. I'm hoping it's decent quality. If you're going to put that much megapixels in a small camera phone, you better hope that lens can actually keep up with the quality. So I needed to make a mention of that. That's Sony's bit. It is an Android phone. Kind of not surprising they're going to go down this path, especially with Nokia that released their new phone that has, I think, 40 megapixels. That information, of course, was kind of overshadowed by the fact that Microsoft made the announcement that they are buying Nokia outright. So all future Nokia phones will definitely be running Windows Phone OS. And for better or for worse, Microsoft now has a hardware portion in the mobile phone market. So we'll see what happens with that. But it wasn't all about phones and smartwatches at IFA. No, they also have some really, really sexy toys. By sexy toys, I'm talking about UHD TVs. This one in particular. Samsung made the announcement of the world's first curved ultra-high-definition television. This will be available in both 55 and 65 inch sizes. They're talking about even making them bigger. Who knows? Maybe they make 90... 95, 107. Who knows how big these will be. Now, granted, these are going to be way out of all of our budgets, but the fact that these are coming out, which means hopefully within a few years, they'll start to become more affordable. Those of us who don't want to wait for these prices to go down to like what Seiki is offering for its 4K TVs. This is nice to hear. Again, we'll have to wait a bit longer. But there also was a laptop that caught my eye. This is actually one from Lenovo. Now, Lenovo's actually been pretty good on their laptops, especially their Ultrabooks. When you look at this, I'm okay. Standard 13-inch screen. It's probably going to flip over to use itself as a tablet. Oh, why? Yes, it does. Oh, it is running Windows 8. Oh, I could probably transfer that down to Windows 7. I'd be much happier with that. But the reason why I actually am interested in this one is called the Yoga 2 Pro. This one has a decent brightness on the screen. It has really good quality in terms of the tech that's inside. You can get up to 4th gen i7s on this thing. It does have the built-in Intel wireless display bit. So if you have the little receiver for the Intel wireless display, instead of hooking up a cable from your laptop to your TV or an additional monitor, you just press the button, wirelessly connect, and hey, look, you're streaming right to your TV. Quite nice. It is pretty light. It is lighter than previous incarnations. But the big bit that caught my eye is that screen. Normally when you have a 13-inch screen, you're getting 1600 by 900. Maybe the higher ends will include full 1080p. No, this 13-inch screen will be at a resolution of 3200 by 1800. This thing is just going to be sexy. You don't have to wait to save up a lot to try to go grab a MacBook Retina. No longer. If you wanted a Windows version, now you can get an official Windows branded Lenovo Yoga 2 Pro. It's going to be really nice. And the price is actually, given what's actually inside this laptop, is not bad. It starts at $1,100. So it's going to be coming out actually this October. What's nice about the stuff that's being announced at IFA is that, unlike waiting for a release date like you get at CES, ooh, look, shiny, we're not going to announce a release date yet. Most of the stuff that was announced at IFA is going to be released within the next 2 months. So that's quite nice. So you guys can check out more at Lenovo's website. On a side note, though, it wasn't announced at IFA, just announced quite recently that HDMI 2.0, the standard for version 2.0, is officially announced. And the connector is the same. Some cables that you have now will probably still work with the HDMI 2.0 standard. But this thing can pump data like none other. It has enough room to carry 4K resolution by itself for a single cable, 18 gigabits per second bandwidth, 60 FPS, 4K, so you don't have to worry about having the very choppy 4K on your monitor. You can have the full, smooth 4K resolution style. 32 channels of audio, so I'm fully expecting some really insane home theater systems to happen the next couple years. But yeah, it just looks gorgeous in terms of the specs, and I'm waiting to see what new TVs and monitors actually use this standard first. It'd be very cool. But that's it from IFA. There's a ton more stuff that came out of that convention, but you can find the information online, usually at your favorite tech news website, Gizmodo, Engadget, whatever you like to go to. Moving on to some news. Roland Emmerich, he's been in the news lately for trying to throw the word around that he wants to create a sequel to Independence Day. But you know what? I think he's going to push that to the side for right now to actually resurrect an old franchise. Not Independence Day, but actually the Stargate series. He actually wants to reboot the Stargate movies and possibly envision it as a brand new trilogy. Now, the original Stargate grows a respectable amount. There's been multiple TV spin-offs, many that I've been actually enjoying. But in terms of trying to have movie spin-offs, there hasn't been really any at all. So I think they're going to move away from television and possibly go to a full reboot in the theaters. It could be kind of cool. He already went to MGM, who has the rights, proposed it already to create a sequel, but they want to create the sequel as a reboot. I don't understand that. Just call it a reboot. You don't need to call it a sequel and a reboot. Just call it a reboot. They seem to have liked it because they said that pretty soon we'll have to look for a writer and start pre-production. So this is very, very early on. We have no idea if there's any sort of time frame on this, but it's, I don't know. To me, I really enjoyed the Stargate franchise. I actually enjoyed Stargate more than I did Independence Day. That's just me. So we'll see. It's out there. He may be working on it. This could also be just a load of hot air while he tries to work on Independence Day 2 and try to get Will Smith to come back, which I doubt he'll be able to. But yeah. But speaking of old movie franchises coming back from the grave, RoboCop. We finally have a trailer for it. Yeah, I mean, I will say this. Obviously, when you get to rebooting a movie franchise that was, the first one was what, 26 years ago? Obviously, you're going to have a massive boost in terms of the graphics, the special effects. You have more technology, or better technology than you had back then. Therefore, the spectacle will probably be much more grandiose. That being said, they decided, you know, we're going to try to change the story just a bit here and there. I mean, the original, the whole bit of that RoboCop could actually alter the programming a bit to avoid being controlled externally. That was like a minor plot point in the original movie. They're going to expand that to almost the entire freaking movie for this version. And I have to say, just with that trailer, Joel Kinnaman is never going to touch the original style. You're not going to touch Peter Weller in terms of the same feeling. But then again, that's probably me being nostalgic watching RoboCop as a kid. Going back to the style of the outfit. I mean, I look at the first version, which they start off the movie with. I'm perfectly fine with this design. It's a little more detailed than the original. You could do some CG stuff as you saw in the trailer. This looks fine. You have a nice blend of the old school design with some new features. I'm happy with this. But then they had to go and turn it to this. And I'm thinking, okay, you had to make it urban. You had to make it dark and gritty. You had to make them all black. Therefore, all the detail you had in this updated suit is now lost. It makes no sense whatsoever. You use the one thin strip of red lighting to try to tie it in with the old original version. No. I look at this as unnecessarily changing things just because you can. I'm honestly looking at this new RoboCop as the first one was a popcorn flick, a little bit of a satire here and there, but overall a popcorn flick. This one I'll probably wait till it comes out in the dollar theater or wait till it comes out on DVD and Blu-ray to watch it. This will probably go down the same path as the recent butchering of the Total Recall remake. So, I mean, that's just me. I'll probably won't see this, day it comes out. I'm hoping that this trailer was just poorly put together and new trailers will get me more interested and more hyped for this. I mean, yes, I saw Samuel L. Jackson in there. It's still not enough for me to want to go see this the opening day. That's just me. So, it is coming out in 2014, probably early February, and we'll see what happens. Moving on to another movie, Keanu Reeves. We are not going to talk about 47 Ronin because that one, I'm going to need other people on the show to actually discuss that one. But Keanu Reeves does have a new movie coming out, aside from 47 Ronin. This one's called Man of Tai Chi. And instead of trying to explain it, I'm just going to play the trailer because it kind of needs just to be played. Whoa. Yes, no. You look at this and I'm like, okay, underground MMA blood sport. You see that Keanu Reeves is going to be fighting something, some part in the end. He is directing this movie. It does feature Tiger Chen, the main hero. He's actually a stunt performer from the original Matrix movie. So it's like the guy knows how to fight. So you're going to be watching this just for the amazing, epically choreographed fight scenes, which honestly I'm fine with going to watch. I mean, having Keanu Reeves as a part of this is only the movie studio trying to gather hype for this upcoming movie and trying to get more butts in seats, basically. Now, this is actually making the runs over at the festival circuits right now. What's cool is that this movie will be available on iTunes before it actually hits U.S. theaters. So it is available on iTunes on September 27th, and then it hits U.S. theaters November 1st. So I'm actually kind of interested. I might actually pick this one up. Maybe even go watch it on iTunes before. If it's good enough, I maybe go see it again in theaters. So you guys do have a choice to go check this one out. Whether you want to wait for the theatrical release or just download it when it comes out on iTunes later on this month, you have options. Moving on to some comic news. I'm going to briefly go through these because I was hoping to talk to either Michael or Nikki about these, but we'll get their opinion for next week. But I wanted to get the news out there so you guys can at least be, in the know about these. Some news over at DC Comics. they have a couple problems right now. Some problems with PR. Um, I've been really enjoying the new version of Batwoman. It's been fantastic. The um, the the writing's great. The art is superb. I love the story behind it. How of course how Batwoman proposed to his girlfriend, and you're thinking, okay, cool. So we have this couple. They proposed. They're engaged. Next is going to be this big wedding. That's probably going to be live happily ever after, or have massive heartache afterwards for some terrible thing that might happen. It's comics. You kind of expect something like that to happen. The DC brass turned around and said no, they can't marry. Which is odd that DC strictly forbid Batwoman to marry Sawyer. Even though Batwoman's already proposed on panel and in the comic, everybody's seen this. It was a great scene in the comic, but they're going to just outright forbid these two from getting married. Now, a lot of people looked at this initially and went, "Okay, is this because DC's anti-gay marriage?" No, because there's been other instances of gay marriage in other comics, like in X-Men and whatnot. There's a bit of stuff like that there, but for some reason they're not going to let Batwoman get married at all, and fans are kind of pissed off about this. I'm kind of concerned about this, but that only goes so far. The two writers behind this new comic series have actually made the announcement that because of DC meddling with their plans they've put well over a year into preparation for, and they're damn good at their job, they're actually going to be leaving the series fairly soon, which is kind of sad. I mean, DC's already made the announcement of who's going to be replacing them, but looks like they're not going to change their mind anytime soon. I guess their big thing is that superheroes in the DC universe need to be sad, and they can never be happy. They always have to be groveling in the corners of city dredge in order to be relatable to the readers. Screw that. I read comics for escapism. I want to have a good story, and if a couple goes through a hell of a lot together and they end up getting married, I'm all for that. That's a ray of hope in a world of dredge, for lack of a better phrase. But they're not going to allow it to happen. They may change in the future. We'll see what happens. I doubt it, but oh well. But DC also has another kind of a fairly big controversy on their hands for the upcoming series, just focusing on Harley Quinn, a very, very iconic and very entertaining character when placed in the right hands. They made an open town search announcement for the upcoming, I think, issue 0 for the Harley Quinn series. You had to go on their website, download the information, and then you have to upload, I believe, 4 different versions of a certain scene in order for you to be possibly chosen. But these, how can we say these? Yeah, these weren't really all that good. Now, there's scenes like you have Harley Quinn in an all chicken outfit in the Florida Everglades surrounded by alligators. It's kind of the idea of having Harley Quinn thinking, oh, that's it for me, and she's about to commit suicide. This may try to be like tongue-in-cheek, but when you have like this scene 4, let me read this verbatim. Harley sitting naked in a bathtub with toasters, blow dryers, blenders, appliances all dangling above the bathtub, and she has a cord that will release them all. We are watching the moment before the inevitable death. Her expression is one of, oh well, guess that's it for me, and she has resigned herself to the moment that is going to happen. Now, I know that Harley Quinn is, her big thing right now, she's in a series called Suicide Squad, which is not what you think. If you actually read it, it's actually pretty good. But it's not about suicide. And Harley has always been kind of crazy and out there, but for her to be placed in a situation like that, to saying that's it and she just leaves, yeah, the response online has been mixed at best. You have some people who are saying, okay, if you're going to try to do this in a tongue-in-cheek fashion, that she's not going to go through with it, that's typical Harley Quinn. You tie her in with the Joker, and the Joker does crazy stuff like this anyways. But then you have a lot of people online who, on the exact opposite, say, okay, this is the over-sexualization of death and violence and abuse towards women. In a sense, you can look at this and go, okay, yeah, I can see it like that. In my opinion, if you wanted people to send in their ideas or their drawings for Harley Quinn, have her trying to rob someone, have her beating the crap out of someone, have her playing a joke on someone, having 4 panels of her basically trying to commit suicide, you're gonna have controversy, which is probably what they were going for in the first place. But this one may hurt sales. I doubt it, but it may. I don't know. There's a lot of people raging online about this. Next week, we'll actually have a little discussion about this with either Michael or Nikki, because I really want to get their opinions on it, and I want to get your opinions as well. So if you have your thoughts about this DC Comics contest, I want you to send me a message, either on Twitter or Facebook. It's all the same, OtakuLife Jason, expressing your thoughts about the matter. If you even want to create your own video response to this, please feel free to do so and send me the link, and we'll talk more about this next week. A couple random bits for you. Sony Japan is actually going to host an online press conference tonight. So it begins actually at 2 a.m. Eastern Monday. So essentially, if you're on the West Coast like me, you're going to stay up a little later than usual, or you might be up at that time anyways, and that's like 11 p.m. You want to go online and just search for Sony Japan press conference. This is actually taking place 10 days before the Tokyo Game Show, which is a ton of fun. So I've heard. There's a lot of people who have been there in person to Tokyo Game Show, or TGS for short, and they say it's an absolute blast. I've been to E3 several times. They say some people say it's actually better than E3. I need to go to TGS one of these years. But Sony, they're going to be talking about the PS4. We have no idea specifically what they're going to talk about. All we know is their press conference for Tokyo Game Show is tonight, streaming online for free. Just check online. I'll be online as well watching it. We'll talk on Twitter or in the live chat at the same time. The other bit is I want to talk about a deal right now. If you actually head over to, of all places we've talked about, Best Buy, they have some really great games on sale right now. Halo 4, Dead Space 3, Crysis 3. Those are $19.99 a piece. That's a pretty good deal. But there is a 4th game that's available for $20 right now. And if you have not picked it up, like me, I need to go to a Best Buy and pick this one up ASAP. For $20, you can pick up Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch. It is the regular edition. It's not the collector's edition, but it is the game itself. So for $20, if you haven't picked up this game, you kind of have no excuse now. This is a limited sale. You want to hit up your local Best Buy and pick this up ASAP. All right, everybody. Well, I think that's going to be it for this episode. It was going to be a little longer. I apologize that Michael or Nikki were not available to join us for this episode. It's just fine. They had a lot of work to do today. They will be back here next week, though, so you want to stay tuned for that. I want you guys to stay tuned for post-show. We have, of course, a number of videos we're going to show for our Moment of Zen, and just to hang out for a bit. And you guys remember that every Wednesday we have Anna Break at 7 p.m. Pacific, where we're going to talk about everything anime, manga, and video games, and I hope you guys join me for that. But I think that's going to be it for this episode, so thank you guys so much for hanging out with me tonight, even when it was a later broadcast than usual. But from my mother's basement, I'm Jason, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Take it easy.